Hello, good evening.
Yes.
Hello. Hello, good evening.
Good evening. We can hear
Can
you.
you all
Good
hear
evening.
me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so and I'd like to just go straight to the point. I'm on transit, so I just want to quickly deliver my presentation. Please, can I share my slides as I proceed?
Yes, kindly do. Yes, thank you.
It's telling me only the host can share in this meeting. So you have to enable me share. Only the host can share in this meeting. Okay. Right. Thank you. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Good evening, all. So we'll be talking about grants and scholarships. How to secure grants in a short language, and how to secure international scholarships. And I'll be starting with grants. As we all know, grant is free money, and anybody will want free money. Okay, can you all hear me? I like response. So we all want free money, and that is why, as a business owner, we usually look out for grants. And I always advise that if you are just starting your businesses, it's better to look out for grants rather than going for loan. So I'll be giving you some strategies to winning and securing some grants. Grants are not meant to be paid back. If you are able to secure one, you should know that grants are not meant to be paid back. However, you need to give a detailed report of what you use the grant for. You need to give account of what you are using the grant for. No donor will want to fund you if you are not accountable. No funder at all anywhere want to give you money if you cannot give them exactly how you spend your money. And so a lot of people win grants while majority gets rejection. I can tell you, based on my experience, that there are many organizations, there are many donors, there are many funding available for businesses. You only need to strategize on how to secure these funds for your startups. To secure grants, it's better to learn the strategies in writing grants, because there are procedures to writing grants. And if you want to win a grant, you need to follow those procedures or strategies, whichever one you want to call it. Personally, I have attracted up to 100,000 US dollar in grant funding, both for my clients, and I have also had more than 80 competitive grants rejected as well. So to increase the likelihood of your funding sources, I will suggest to you that you need to do an extensive search to know the available grants. And you also need to know the types of projects that the funders are willing to finance. And this leads to the strategies for winning grants for your startups. You need to do your research work. Can we all hear me? Am I sure I'm speaking? I'm in a class. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I just want to respond. Yeah. So that, okay. I just want to be sure I'm with my people. So we are talking about the first strategy. The first strategy is researching. You need to do your research work. You need to know the organization that is funding you. You need to know that grant writing is a job. So you need to know how to write a better proposals. You need to know how to navigate the system. The truth is that most proposals end in rejection. Why? They end in rejection because most of those proposals did not follow procedures. So you need to take your time to learn from the setbacks and successes of others so as to help you increase the chances of securing funds. Okay, so when you are doing your research work, you need to also find out what the funders are prioritizing. What projects are they willing to fund? Some funders will prioritize projects that inform social changes. Okay. So researching will help you to know what to do. That's the first step. You need to do your research. Then the second step is the power of storytelling. Before you begin your application, you need read the descriptions and directions carefully. That will help you save time. Your story, you must have a story that will align with the foundation's strategic goals. So your story must align with the funder's interest. So you need to know how to share your story, how to tell your story in a pitch. Telling your story in a pitch entails a little bit about yourself, about your background, about the people you are representing, about the problem and the solutions you want to solve, the value you want to give. Does all those things resonate with the funding you need? Does it resonate to what the funders are calling for? How much funding are you requesting? So you must be able to put all these things together in a pitch document. And your pitch document can either come as a video, audio, or in a blog. That is what anyone can have access to, what anybody can read and understand. I want you to put yourself in the shoe of the grant reviewers. For instance, you might need to read dozens of applications about complicated subjects that lies outside their own field of expertise. So imagine you are so tired, you are hungry, and you've gotten 50 applications to get through. How do you want to do it? So you need to think about how you as an applicant can make it as easy as possible for your reviewer to understand in a simple language. So I advise you to avoid basic deal breakers such as spelling errors, grammatical slips, and lengthy proposals. So those kind of mistakes can cast doubt, on the reviewer's mind. So your proposal must be simple and short. So a grant is all about convincing a jury, a funder, that your ideas are worthy and exciting. That's just a simple thing about grant writing. So you need to make some catchy generalization about your proposal ideas of business. What will your business or what will your project do for the people in the society? And at times you might need to get some training. Grant writing training is everywhere. You can pay for classes to attend such trainings to acquire more skills. Or you can also give it out to grant writers to help you out. So let me just give you some strategies. You need to articulate your need in a proposal. You need to sketch out a plan on how to achieve that. You have to be honest with yourself. Do you or your organization really have the capacity to do what you say you want to do? So you need to be honest to yourself. Calibrate on how you want to approach the proposal based on the available resources. Some funders might say, okay, we are giving you just 500,000 and your business proposal is 1 million. Can you come down to meet that 500,000? So you need to calibrate on how to achieve that. You need to determine the scale of your proposal. Will your staff be working on this project full-time? Do you need volunteers? Do you need interns to help you out in this proposal? You need to know all that. So when you have put all these things in a document, you can then write a concept note introducing your project or introducing your business to funders. So for grant writing, like I said, I'll be fast. That is all about the strategies. Know what you want, know the donors, know the funders, what are they requiring of you, and write your proposal. So we'll move on to strategies for winning international scholarships. Okay, so only 10 to 50 African students win international scholarship. And the average amount used to pay for international studies is about $37,000 a year. So very few students win $25,000 or more in scholarship each year, which means securing international scholarships are highly competitive and limited to the brave and the experienced, who only apply strategies and processes to securing international scholarships. So what are the strategies you need to do here? Before you put your pen to paper, before you think about submitting a proposal, you need to go to the site of the school. Think about the school. Think about the organization that wants to sponsor the scholarship. What type of scholarship do you need? What type of scholarship is the school ready to provide? You need to go to the school site to learn all about that. Another thing about securing scholarship is writing your scholarship essays. And your scholarship essays should include your background, your experience, your training, your skills, your certification, and what getting the scholarship, what does it mean to get the scholarship? How will the scholarship benefit the society at large? So those are the things you need to put together in your scholarship essay. You also need to polish your online presence because it's very important. Most schools will check you out online to see what you give out, what you stand for. So you need to look beyond your grades. So if you're asking for scholarship from schools, it's not all about first class. It's all about your impact in the community. You need to also get letters of recommendations from your reference. And you need to create a resume, a good resume. Those are the things you need to do. If you're applying for schools, if you're applying for international scholarships, you need to put all those documents in place before you can then submit your scholarship request. Another thing I would say is that you should also apply for many scholarships. Don't limit yourself to one school or two schools. Apply to as many schools as possible, knowing that it is highly competitive. So you need to apply to as many scholarships as possible so as to stand a better chance of getting at least 2 from your numerous submissions. So in order to achieve results, you need to complete the scholarship matching profile thoroughly. Go to the school to know what they require of scholars. What do you need to get to be able to secure the scholarship? You need to find out. Look for scholarship listing books and sites. You need to also find local scholarships. And at the same time, you need to tap into family and friend connections. Who do you know in the school that you want to apply for? So you need to do all that. So if you have the time and the energy, you need to start early. Early application. Most times, applications, those who apply early usually secure scholarship. So you need to start early. But the good news is that many African students still secure international scholarship. Or at least I have like 4 friends that just left to US recently based on scholarship. The difference is that those who get international scholarship prepared ahead. They plan for it. They know where to look for scholarship. They prepare in advance. They work hard. So make yourself stand out from other applicants. Read the application instruction carefully and make sure to submit an exceptional scholarship essay. Your cover letter, your resume, your statement of purpose. Above all, be realistic in your essay writing. Thank you so much. Is there any question for me before I hang on? Hello, any question for me?
Good evening, ma. Thank you so much for the presentation.
Yeah.
We really appreciate your time, and it's been a wonderful one. Some of our people are just joining. Please, can we have the slide to share to people, at least for them to
Okay, I'm trying to share the slide, but okay, go on with your question. I'm trying to share my slide, but I'm not achieving that. That's why I'm unable to do that. So, but what I will do is just to forward the slide to Emmanuel. Yeah, so I think Emmanuel will share with us all if we have a contact. So let me take your question because I have just like 10-15 minutes to lead this session.
Okay. Please, let's kindly signify if you have any questions so that our guests can respond to them ASAP. Because we're having another session by 8. Please, let's kindly drop our questions.
I have a question.
Please go on.
Okay, thank you very much. I so much appreciate your insights on how to go about finding and all that. So it is so much of I appreciate that. My name is I'm a nutritionist and I'm presently running my business. And it's a lot of ups and downs based on the economy and all that. I'm somebody that don't really, believe in these plans and all that because of procedures and all that. So most times I don't really even know how it works. It really works in terms of, because in grants and sometimes when we hear about funding, we'll be wondering, is funding going to be something like a loan or is it going to be like a grant or something? So for me and people that have worked with over time, like my colleagues, we always have this feeling that how do we even approach getting a grant that is even a grant? Because sometimes you hear that some grants are going to be something that will end up becoming something you end up paying later, that there's something about you need to just start paying for it and all that, except maybe you have an investor, probably you have your business plan and proposal well written and all that. So I just wanted to advise as an SME trying to put things together because of the crisis presently that one is facing, economic devaluation in terms of currency and all that. What can you advise that we can do to help our business in terms of trying to put ourselves out there for people to be able to see what we do, and maybe that way we can even get more people getting to patronize us instead of even looking for grants, because a lot of people look for grants and at the end of the day affecting those who are even serious about what they do. So I don't know how you can advise us in a way that we can actually prepare our minds in terms of focusing more on our business to see how much we can get either investors or getting more clientele to participate in our business.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that question. Sometimes there are small grants that you can try out, but most times because SMEs they don't get into the pool of selection for grants because of maybe some criteria that the funders had laid down. So what I advise is that if you have a product that you are selling, try to concentrate on that your product. Try to make impact, So organizations that you have applied for before, once they are following you online, once they are seeing what you are doing, once they are seeing your impact, the impact of your business in the community, they will be the one that will reach out to you later on. But the thing is that you need to gather experience, because if you are getting grant is majorly for community development, although there are business grants. But even if business grants are coming your way, those funders will want the funds to go into the community. It's just like recycling the fund into the community. So they don't want it to go into your business fully like that. Your business must be making impact in the community. So if you don't have that strength, if you don't have that energy, because it is usually very time consuming, writing grant. This is what I write. It's part of my work. So it is always time consuming to sit down, to start putting up a grant proposal for a client. Usually time consuming. So you need to get impact. So most times I look out for being making impact and they are doing, so we have something to pick up from what they are doing. And build your online presence, build your business, sell your products, make money, and look for grants. If grants come, fine. If it doesn't come, you move on with the revenue. So your business must be able to generate revenue for you. Do you
Yes,
get
you
that?
plug the phone like one day. Girl, to
Hello?
tell me, tell her.
Yes,
Hello?
I
There's
do.
noise on the ground.
Yes, I do. Yeah, they need to
Hello?
mute the other people. They are just people are just in the background. I don't know.
Please do
They should
that.
mute.
Please move. Yes, do that
I'm not the
so
one.
that
I'm
it
not.
can be effective. Hello?
I got. I can hear you.
So do you get me? You need to build your brand, generate revenue for your business, and use you and run with your revenue. So in few years, if you had gathered impact, if you have made impact in your community, those are what you now put together as executive summary, which will become the work history, your work history. Is that taken? Thank you.
Yes, a senior Kenny.
Yes, taking, but they are going to mute other people now because those people are just disturbing other people, and it's wrong.
So have you gotten my response?
Yes, I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So please, if there's any other question, just collate all and send to me via email. Manuel, you have my email. Like I said, I have just few minutes. I'm actually outside, so I need to quickly round up, and I've been on transit since morning, so I just had to take this session. So any other question can come to me so I can take time to answer your question and give you a good positive feedback.
Okay, the meeting is being recorded. We are good to go. The meeting is being recorded. So, the main thing you should understand here is I am committed to assist individuals and institutions grow financially through business. Meaning, I am not the best guy, or I might not be the best guy when it comes to career, but when it comes to business, I can give you some tips. And like I said, specifically ethical business. And how do I do that? I do it through business consultancy, I do it through training, and I'm also the founder of Hermosa Vida. Like I said, my name is Nkwenkam Fidelis, and I pride to call myself the financial apostle. There is this quote I would like to start with. How you do anything is how you do everything. How you go about your daily lifestyle is the same way you're going to attract investors. Let me tell you this very short story. A question was once asked by a guru. He said, what if there was a system that you could see someone from the person's early stage and identify that this person is going to be successful in life? What if there was that system that you could identify that someone is going to be successful in life? So they started looking at some character traits between successful people, and they found out that every successful person, had one character trait, which is the fact that anything they engage themselves to do, they make sure they do it well. What is he trying to say here? I mean, if you find a successful person and you go and check out in the person's neighborhood, you get good report. If you check out in the person's church or mosque, you will get good report. If you check out in the person's workplace, you will get good report. The person always tries to put his or her best to get, or his or her best in life. And that is why we say how you do anything is how you do everything. That's why a lot of people will make you understand that your attitude counts a lot when it concerns success in life, because what you are going to learn today as far as investment is concerned, some of you knew these things already, but if it has been working for you, it's because you put up the right attitude. And maybe if it has not been working for you, maybe it's because of the wrong attitude. So it's very important you understand this. This is to debunk and to keep aside the mindset that some people say, I will take this serious and I won't take this serious. No, anything you lay your hands on to do, you need to make sure you do it well. It is the holy kings that it is meaning of your life. It's very fabulous. This is good for, and one of the things that I have in life is whenever I put my money somewhere, I make sure I see the end. So make sure you try as much as possible to maximize the benefits from this particular session. That said, let's continue. Now, for you to get investors, you need to think like an investor. For you to get investors, you need to think like an investor. I always like doing trainings, especially when I'm talking to youth, and I use emotional relationships as an example because that's something a lot of youth can understand, and that's something a lot of youth can align with. I've noticed that when you're in a relationship, the man, it's important you bring out the emotional part of you, why the woman should bring out the rational part of her. Because a man in its nature is rational, a woman in her nature is emotional. Now, but these two parties can bring out on one end, the man brings out the emotional part of him, the woman brings out the rational part of her. It's easier. Now, you're not bringing up that part of you because you want to please yourself, but because you want to please the other party. It's the same thing with investment. You cannot attract investors except if you think like an investor. So it's very important that you should understand the first thing to attract an investor is that you should think like an investor. Ask yourself a question when you're going out for investors, that what if, let's say, for example, you had 5 million naira to start up or to invest somewhere. Or let's say you need, let me rephrase, you need 5 million naira in your business right now as we are talking. And you don't know how to get it. Ask yourself this question. If I had 5 million naira and I looking where invest, what line over percent of them we have to and is for, and for it to be project. My presentation. Have any what can say, for example, okay? Yes, sorry, I had a slight network issue. So what I was saying is, please, let me repeat myself. Please make sure that you write, just give us a brief of what you do. Any project you're involved in right now as we are talking that needs funding, please just give us a brief in the chat box so that I can use your project as an example. So please, Blessing, if you have a project you're working on right now that you think it needs investors, it needs funding, drop it. Romeo, if you have a project, you can drop. Whosoever has a project, be it business or any other project, I repeat, so that I can use your project and give you and use them as examples. I use them as guinea pigs while doing the presentation. And like I was saying, for you to get investors, you need to think like an investor. So let's look, what's an investment? An investment is an asset or item acquired with the goal of generating income or appreciation. This is according to Investopedia. An investment is an asset or an item acquired with the goal, take note of the word the goal, with the goal of generating income. Meaning when you are thinking like an investor, you need to understand that an investor is there to generate income. People don't invest in projects for the sake of, let us try. Professional investors don't do that. They make sure where they are putting in their money, they are certain to a certain degree that this is going to yield profit. Permit me come out very clear here. When we talk about investment, we are not talking about those who go and put in some money in Ponzi schemes with the hope that if they are lucky. Investment is not about luck. Investment is a well calculated process. It's not about luck. So I'm not talking about you heard about a scheme and they said the scheme is going to double you some money in 2 months, in 3 months, in 6 months, and you say, okay, let me give it a try. Then you call yourself an investor. No, there are a lot of things you look out for before engaging in to a business as an investor. Okay, Uzaka.com, an e-commerce platform for Africa. Good. So we're talking and using Uzaka.com. Thank you, Marianne. So an investment is an asset or item acquired with a goal of generating income or appreciation. Meaning, even if it's not income, at least at the end of the day, I should be able to make profit. Please, there is something you need to understand about investors. Investors already have the money. For you to call someone an investor, the person has that financial ability to get into your project, to get into your business. Meaning the person is not in search for daily bread. I repeat, the person is not in search for daily bread. The person already has income. And I believe most of us, or if not all of us here, were in Africa. For you to raise income in Africa is not bread. So if somebody has raised the income, it means the person did something correctly. In effect, when you're approaching that person, you need to approach the person with the mindset that you're not going to feed this person, you're going to help the person multiply. How to attract investors for your business. This particular presentation will be in 2 parts. Part A is understanding what investors are interested to know. A lot of people lose investors because they provide a lot of information that at the end of the day, the information is not relevant to that particular investor. So it's very important that, let's say as you're leaving this program, and you want to meet out investors for your e-commerce platform, you should know exactly what are investors looking for. I am currently working on a marketplace, something.com, please permit me, focus on product development. We are currently bootstrapped, but we need funding to launch other activities, okay? Focus on product development. What kind of products do you develop? Is it IT product? Is it, what kind of products do you develop? I've tried reaching several incubators, hubs, but no response from any. What do you think we are not doing right? I can't tell you exactly what you are not doing right because I need to diagnose the whole company. But what I'm making you to understand is follow this presentation and I'll keep using your company as an example to see how I can maybe answer some questions. Please, I would like to note questions come at the end. Okay, hardware products. So thank you. Let's ride on. You need to understand what investors are interested to know. It's not everything an investor wants to know about your business. There are specific things an investor wants to know. I'm telling you this because I've had opportunity to invest in some companies. And as I'm talking to you, I'm looking forward to do an investment somewhere in some months ahead. So there are some specific things that I'm looking at. And at the second part, we'll be talking about pitching your business/project. Now, always when you understand what investors are looking for, now you need to know how to pitch it. You need to know how to sell it because it says a closed mouth is a closed destiny. If you don't know how to pitch, then it will be difficult. Please, I would like you to note here, if you're on this call and you're a business person, please get this and get this very serious. If you can't sell, you can't do business. I'll repeat myself. If you can't sell, you can't do business. If you're here and you're a business person and you don't know how to sell, please learn how to sell. And sales is just about bringing money into the business. Meaning if you can get investors, you are selling. Because I want you to understand something. Most businesses nowadays close out of 2 main reasons. Poor management, low sales. When the sales is low, management is poor, your business is bound to close. When I used to serve as an accountant, my boss back then was the best marketer. That is, the owner of the company was the best marketer. It does not mean you must be the best marketer, but you need to make sure that money comes into your business, because at the end of the day, you are the vision bearer and nobody will buy that idea except as much as you. So it's very important I drop that aside. It might help somebody. If you don't know how to sell, please make sure you know how to sell. Okay, let's dive into part A, understanding what investors are interested to know. Investors are interested to seek out for three things: your reputation, your product, and your figures. Your reputation, your product, and your figures. I put reputation here because I'm sure I'm talking to a lot of startups, and I'll bet you when you're a startup, you are not very different from your company. People will always use you to understand your company, your character, your attitude, the way you relate with people. People will always use it to understand your your reputation as far as a business, as far as you doing business is concerned. So it's very important. And let's assume that you're on this call and you are no more at the level of a startup. You're already kind of stable. What we talk about reputation is what we call in business language your goodwill. What, aside the products, aside the services you offer, what do people know about you? So that we talk about your reputation, we talk about your product, we talk about figures. Now, when people get into invest, they look out for these three things. Your reputation is not limited to your business reputation, but how reliable you are and if people are comfortable working with you. I would like you to take note of something here. In business, people work with those they know and trust. Hello? People work with those they know and trust. That's why it's difficult. That's why, or let me put it this way, that's why when we get into business, we are more comfortable pitching the ideas to our friends, to our colleagues, to our relatives and all that, because they know us. But the question is, do they trust you? That's what we're talking about, reputation here. Because one thing you have to understand, remember I said from the beginning that investors have already made money. They are looking for means to multiply it. Meaning, if your reputation is not one thing that that is reliable, they will find it very difficult to trust you with their money. So it's very important that you know that your reputation is not limited to your business reputation. What is your character? Are you someone that keeps to your word? You might be very good with business, but when it comes to loans, when people give you loan, it's a problem for you to pay back. But they know that you can sell like wildfire. They know that maybe say you can sell, but you can't manage people well. I have some people I've been doing business with, and business has been rolling well, but I decided to stop the business simply because of their attitude. And a lot of people look at those things. By a reputation, we're talking about a good reputation makes potential investors understand that their money is secured and will yield profit. Remember what we talk about, who is an investor. An investor is interested. An investor is there to make sure that his money or her money yields profit. And a good reputation, it gives people, it eliminates fear. You see, it's difficult for people to invest when they have doubt. So we'll talk about reputation. Before they start looking at your figures, before they start looking at your products, are they even comfortable to look at them? Some of us, we know some people like that we cannot trust them with money. I have friends that I always tell them that our relationship ends where money starts. We can do any other thing together, but when money starts, our relationship ends. Why? Because they have not earned my trust when it comes to money. So everything being equal, if we engage, if they bring a business proposal to me, I'll ask myself, okay, it can be profitable, but how far am I sure that when this money comes in, this man will call me and say, take your money? Your reputation is very important because it's the foundation of whatever activity you might have or whatever activity you might do with business. I conclude your reputation on this scale, at this level. I want you to take your phone right now and look at your contact list. Now ask yourself that as a business person, how much can I raise as capital? No collateral, no Yes, no collateral. How much can you raise as capital with your phone without you without you necessarily meeting people? You just need to call people and say, okay, I have this good business idea, and you explain the opportunity on phone, and the person is so comfortable with you to the point that the person can send you that money. How many of you have, or how many people in your contact list can do that? If you have very little, there are two possibilities. Either your contact list is not the best, or you have the right contact list, but your reputation is not the best. I always tell people I can sit where I am, and by a function of my reputation and my contact list, I can raise XYZ amount of money without collateral. Why? Because I've tried as much as possible to build a good reputation. I guess I'm talking to a lot of youths here, so I want to plead with you, my fellow youths. Work on your reputation. Work on the perception people have about you. Some people will tell you that what people know about you does not really matter. Is who you really are. But I'll tell you that in business, it matters a lot. The second is your product. People don't just invest in a business, but they invest in a business with a particular product or service. Take note. People won't just invest. People won't get into a business without them understanding the particular product or service. What am I trying to say here? Uzaka.com, an e-commerce platform, you are a service provider. People will need to know what is your service. Your service is not e-commerce. E-commerce is your industry. Your service is not e-commerce. E-commerce is your industry. Your service in this context is what makes you different from others. I would like you to understand this. It concerns, it has more to do with clients than investors, but it might help you. Whenever you start a business, whosoever buys from you was first of all buying somewhere. If you get a new client, your client is buying somewhere. Okay, please mute your mics. Please mute your mics. If you get clients, meaning your client is currently buying somewhere. Now, I want you to understand another thing here. With my experience as a network marketer, I've come to understand that whenever you're prospecting somebody to sign the person up, you have about 3 other people who are prospecting them. So what am I trying to say? When you have identified an investor, you also have competitors who have identified that same investor, and they are competing to make sure that they get investment from him or her or from whatever institution. So marketplace management system and POS. Okay, I'm sure POS is a payment something. So people need to understand your investor needs to understand in the layman sense what is marketplace, what is management system. But for details, when we talk about products, first thing is the level at which your product is demanded. When an investor is looking into your product, the investor is interested to know, is this product in demand? People are comfortable. That's why investors are not very fond of buying new ideas, like sophisticated investors. They're not very fond of buying new ideas, especially when it comes from a startup, because they are not certain that you can produce. They're not certain that you can deliver. Now, at what level is your product in demand? You need to make sure that if your product is in demand, you need to show your potential investor with figures. If, let's say, for example, let me take another example here. Let me take another example. Okay, you say you're doing hardware products. Is there any database you can access that shows the level at which that industry is selling in Nigeria, assuming you're in Nigeria? Is there any database you can access to show that, okay, let's say, for example, my country's GDP, that is gross domestic product in a year, is XYZ, and data hardware production contributes this percentage, which has this amount of money that it produces in the system every year. Now, when you understand the amount of money your industry or your sector produces every year, you can start telling your potential investor that this is a market opportunity, because what if this proportion of sales come to you, to our industry, and by your investment, this comes to you. Now the person sees that already you are having a product that sells. Don't assume that the person knows. Show the person that with figures, because investors are moved by figures. Show the person that this is actually what it produces, and this is what we are aiming to get into the market, and this is what can come to you if you decide to invest. Take note, the best product is not the product that looks good, but is the product that people can buy and share. I was talking about your product, and I'm talking about the level at which your product is in demand. It's not very advisable to get investors, to seek for investors in a product that is not in high demand. Especially by the term when we talk about investors, like we say in French, proprement dit, like investors, those we call real investors. And some people are adventurers. Remember, real investors already have the money. The second thing investors look at when looking at your product is the problem or problems the product can solve. A lot of people have been able to understand that one of the ways or the main way to make money is to solve problems. We are currently using Zoom. Some of us are in Ghana, some of us are in Nigeria, some of us are in Cameroon, some of us are in Zimbabwe, but we can all get on one platform and have a meeting as if we were live. I can give you the opportunity to talk. I can talk if I want. I can see you. You can see me live. A problem is being solved and you can get investors. So people love to buy, but they don't love to be sold. I will tell you the difference between people love to buy, but they don't love to be sold. When you seek to buy, you feel like you're satisfying a problem you have. But when people see you as if you're trying to sell them something, they have this feeling that you are trying to satisfy your own problem. That is why when you budget for shopping, you can step out and spend 100,000, 200,000. But when it's not in your budget, to spend even 50,000 francs might be a challenge. Because when you are budgeted for your shopping, you are in what they call your buying mode. So you need to show your investors the problems that it can solve, because people use their money to pay for their problems that have been solved. So whenever you solve people's problems, they are going to pay you. So that's why I say people love to buy, but don't love to be sold. The third thing investors are looking at when they come to your product, remember I was talking about product. We have 3 levels. We are looking at your reputation, your product, and your figures. The level of branding, the level of marketing, and the level of sales in place. I will talk a little bit about branding. There is a fine line between branding, marketing, and sales. A lot of people make mistakes in these things. Branding is the perception, is the first and the last feeling that the marketplace has about your product or your company. What are we trying to say here? DFMlab.com. DFM Lab, when people, those who have had an opportunity to know about the name DFM Lab, when they get this name the second time, what does it sell? What comes to their mind? Let's do a very brief exercise. Okay, please check out your chat box. I will drop a particular name, a name of a company, and without thinking, please tell me the first thing that comes to your mind as far as that company is concerned. Please look at your chat box. I'm dropping the name of some companies now. Just tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. I've just dropped the first, Apple. When you get the name Apple, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Please use your chat. Please use the chat box, not your. Okay. Someone says MacBook. Someone says Mac. Someone says phone. Someone says phone. Phones. Okay. Okay. Laptops. Now we see that phone has appeared a lot of times, but the question is, Apple. If you go and read about Apple, you won't get that Apple is a phone production company. Apple is involved in let's just call it the tech industry. But why is it that phone came out a couple of times? Because Apple has tried as much as possible to brand itself, to make people understand that we have the best phones in the market. They have a lot of products that do well, but they've placed in a lot of effort on their phone. Meaning if Apple is seeking out for investors, when we take the product elements in consideration, Apple needs to talk a lot about their phones and show investors how investing in Apple company can yield them profit because they have good phones, because their phones sell. Remember, we are talking about what investors want to know. Because people won't buy the CEO suit. People won't buy the big English or the big French that you're going to talk. What people will buy is that product that you sell. And if an investor is putting his or her money, the investor needs to make sure that the product can sell. So it's very important you understand that. Branding makes you stand out. Marketing creates awareness. Sales brings in the money. Your investor needs to see step by step when it comes to the product. How does your product stand out? What is what we call in business your value proposition? Marketing creates awareness. Now, when you have this thing, you need to market your business. Now, have you ever asked yourself that Coca-Cola is one of the biggest multinational on earth, but they never stop advertising? Why? They want to constantly create awareness. Let me give you a practical example. If you take a retreat, a 1-month retreat, without informing any member of your family, and nobody is aware that you've taken a 1-month retreat, these are the possible outcomes. 1, they'll declare you missing. 2, after some time, they might give up and say you're dead. And 3, they might even do burial without you being present. Why? Because they have not been seeing you. So the fact that people see you every day is an indication that you are still alive. It's the same thing marketing does. So marketing is not just about making the money, but to always make people understand that when you need XYZ product, the day you have money and you're looking for somewhere to invest, I'm available. Network marketing has taught me this a lot. I get a lot of people who call me and tell me they need XYZ product, they need XYZ service, simply because they've understood that I am constantly on the move as far as my business is concerned. I don't need you to buy from me before I market my services to you. You have to understand something here. You might meet an investor today, but it's not the right time. The opportunity is great, but it's not the right time. And the investor might never check on you to ask you that, okay, how is business? Is it moving? But the information you send out to that investor will make the investor understand that this guy is still in business. This lady is still in business. Meaning, whenever I have some money that I want to invest, I can contact this person. That is what we talk about, creating awareness. To create awareness of your product. If there are innovations, make sure you know. Sales brings in the money. Now, how does sales bring in the money? Sales is the process of making sure that that product that is found in the market, people can actually buy them. So we are not on a marketing, branding, and sales course. We are on investors. But I'm just trying to make you understand what investors look at. They look at your product, and when they're looking at your product, they ask themselves, what branding has this guy done? What marketing? Because when people want to invest, take note, there's always this phenomenon. Do we ask somebody, have you heard about what's the name? Have you heard about Osaka? Have you heard about Osaka? They'll always ask questions. And the more they get no, they'll be skeptical. Okay? So it's very important that you understand this. And the last but not the least, at the level of your product, is the level at which your product can be replaced. It's not enough for you to do enough branding. Neither is it enough for what were the other points that we gave. Neither is it enough for your product to solve problems. But more important, can that product be replaced? You see, not to do branding for any company, but that is what Apple tries to do as much as possible every day. Apple tries as much as possible to make sure that their products are irreplaceable. They give that personal touch that you might be looking for. They make you understand that their product is just what you need for the type of activity you do. Samsung also does that to a certain level. That's why you see Samsung has the normal S series and they have the Note. And they make you understand that the Note is a work tool. The Samsung Note series, they make you understand that it's a working tool. That's a tool you can use for work. So the level at which your product can be replaced. Because when you understand that, or when you have an irresistible and an irreplaceable product, it's very difficult for the marketplace to deny your product. It's very difficult for investors to deny your product. Hey, I want you to understand this. You need to build that product and make your investors understand that it is an opportunity to invest with you. Even if they didn't know you, but by the fact that you have built your product so well and they have understood that your product cannot be replaced, then you need to understand. You need to, then they can understand, that it's an opportunity doing business with you. I have a partner that we're about launching a startup. And the startup is not, I'll share it with you. It has to do with, the startup has to do with what's this industry? It has to do with digital marketing. It's not Emosa Vida. Emosa Vida is something I've already started, so I'm on another project now. So it has to do with digital marketing. And we've tried as much as possible to build our service in a way that when another digital marketer comes and we present what we have, we cannot be replaced because we bring in a value proposition that another digital marketer does not have. So every active industry is an indication that it is profitable, but the question is, are you replaceable? What do I call an active industry? Whenever you see people still doing a particular business, know that that business is profitable, but you just need systems to make sure that your product is irreplaceable. Because when your product is irreplaceable, everybody will rush for your product, including your investors. The third thing is your figures. Before we move to your figures, I want to see some reaction in the chat box. So far, what have you been able to get so far? Just one word. What have you been able to get so far? We are talking about what investors are looking for. We've talked about your reputation. We've talked about your product. So far, what is the feeling you have so far as this presentation is concerned, and so that we can talk on figures? While we are waiting your reaction to talk on the figures, while waiting for your reaction, let's continue. When investors look at your business, what they are looking for is the financial profitability of your business. You see, a lot of business people make this mistake of sharing ideas when they want to get investors. They spend a lot of time talking on how this is going to change the world, how this is going to do this and do that. Now, all those things are good. Whatever I said before now was a preparation for this. At the end of the day, the investor will like to know, will this give profit? Will this particular activity give profit? When investors look at your business, what they are actually looking for is the financial profitability. Please underline, financial profitability. Whatever you tell an investor without showing the investor how the investor is going to make money, you have lost that investor. Please take note of that, especially as a startup. But you can't, the reason why we talk about product and the 4 elements is because you can't promise. It's not about promising an investor that you're going to make money from this. It's about telling an investor that you're going to make money from this opportunity because of this and this and this and this, and these are the figures. For those who have been writing business plan, I'll make you to understand something here. When you write a business plan, most investors look at there are 2 main areas they look at. They read a little biography about your company, just to have an idea. then immediately they move to the financial part. Immediately. Now, you have to also understand something about investors here. Investor A might have 5 million francs, and investor A is looking for how he can get 20 million in 3 years, while investor B is looking at how he can get 20 million in a year. So the question is, what kind of investor do you want? And you need to show that profitability. Meaning, if your opportunity is that which can produce 10 million in 2 years, look for investors of that category, because what they are looking for is financial profitability of your business. Now, when we talk about figures, okay, another thing we are looking at is the frequency at which money comes in. Now, what do I mean by the frequency at which money comes in? There are some opportunities that, or there are some business that are seasonal. This season is profitable, this season is not profitable. So if your business is seasonal, you need to create a system when talking to an investor that will make the investor understand that money can come in every month. And the return on investment. When an investor puts in money, please take note, whenever you engage in any activity of life, any financial activity, the goal is to make profit. And profit comes only after capital has been collected. And that capital is what we call return on investment. Then they also look at your financiality. We'll talk about that to continue. Your figures, the payment frequency. Mindful of the risks involved in life, investors will like to know if their returns come in monthly, quarterly, or yearly. It's very important that you make your investors know that, okay, if you engage with me, for example, with 5 million, as a result of the activities we are going to do, we will be able to pay you XYZ time. Is it monthly? Is it quarterly? Or is it yearly? It's very important, because it will make an investor understand, okay, if I'm putting in my money in this project, I can use this money as per this time to solve this problem. Now, what am I trying to say here? If your business does not permit you to pay monthly, then don't kill yourself to make sure you pay monthly. However, if you can create a system to pay monthly, to pay your investors monthly, is going to help a lot. Now, this is one of the advantages. This is one of the advantage of paying monthly or quarterly. It makes your investor understand that you're credible, because a lot of things can happen in a year. Take note, most of us on this call, we are startups, so we have not built that goodwill and we are not that reliable that people can trust us with our money for a whole year. But when they get it each month, okay, investors are like, okay, if I give this month and maybe say next month or in 2 months, I'm expecting my first payment. If I don't get my first payment, automatically I can react instead of waiting till the end of the year. So it's very important to understand that. The next thing investors are looking at for is your return on investment. People invest not to be paid, but to make profits. And profits come only after they have received their initial capital. I said this earlier, okay? Profit come only after you must have received your initial capital. And that initial capital is what we call return on investment. That initial capital is what we call return on investment. People would like to know, investors would like to know, how soon will I at least get my initial investment? How soon? And let me give you a tip here. How soon an investor should get his or her initial investment is a function of how reliable that opportunity is. That is why when people build houses, they know that they will be able to get their return on investment in about 7 to 10 years. But they are comfortable with it because they know it's a secured investment. So if you are on this call and you want to tell investors that you get your investment after XYZ time, you need to try as much as possible to make them understand that their investment is secure. Because once they know their investment is secured, they can have the patience to wait. But if you have the means to pay them monthly or quarterly, you can as well do the same. Your financiality. Investors are also interested to know if you can produce the figures you talk about. You see, it's not just about calling figures, but they want to know if you can produce the figures. This can be done through financial presentations. This is where the presentation part of attracting investors come in. They want to see, because it's like I said, seeing is believing. If you have testimonies, share. If you have people who can recommend you, use them. But they want to be sure that you can produce the figures you talk about. It's very important. Investors would like to know that. And like I said, this can be done through financial presentations that we are going to visit at in the part B. So that said, let's take a 2-minute break. And during the break, please, if you have your questions, to avoid the situation whereby you forget your questions, please, if you have a question, just drop your question, and the question will be answered at the end of the presentation. While any leader of Campus Leaders Initiative, you make sure you jot down the question. So we'll take a 2-minute break. And away from that, I want you to also drop your experience so far. What is that thing that has piqued? What is that new thing you've learned that has drawn your attention to something you were doing right or to something you're not doing right? Because you're not here just to correct yourself. You're also here to give you that confidence that what you're doing is correct. So let's take a 2-minute break and drop your impression, your best impression, and also drop your questions if you have. A 2-minute break starts now. Okay, our break is off, and let's continue. Let's continue. Remember, we are talking about how to attract investors to fund your project. How do you attract? I love the title. It says attract, it's not necessarily how to pitch. Meaning, when we talk about attraction, when you've done successful attraction, people will even move to you and propose that is an opportunity for me to invest. Now, the part B is pitching your business or project. After you have a very good reputation, after you must have made or build the right product, after your financiality is clean, you need to pitch these things. The first part was to make you understand what you need to pitch. Now, this part is to make you understand how you can pitch the idea. When pitching your business or project, you need to understand that time is of essence. When we say time is of essence, meaning you need to make it as brief as possible. Hence, you need to make use of some tools. The first is what we call a business model canvas. If this is your first time getting the word business model canvas, please don't be shy. Just indicate in the chat box, yes, it's my first time. If it's your first time getting the word or the phrase business model canvas, just use the chat box so that I know at what level I am presenting, because it's very simple but not very easy to understand. Okay, this is my first time. Great. Is there any other person that this is his or her first time to get the word business model canvas. Yes, this is my first time. Okay. What's a business model canvas? A business model canvas is a business tool, sorry for the tautology, used to visualize all the building blocks when you want to start a business. Meaning a business model canvas is ideal for a startup. That's why I'm not using business plan here. I know some of you, before you came, you thought you'd be coached on business plan. No, that's not what I have to talk here. Because an average business plan has about 20 to 30 pages. One of the reasons why I am not a fan of business plan is due to the fact that when you prepare a professional business plan and you're a startup, there is a part in the professional business plan that says give 3 years of your previous financial statement and forecast 3 years of your future financial statement. So what if I started my business this year? What if I started my business last year? Where will I get 3 years previous financial statement? You see that it is lacking. And apart from that, remember we said time is of the essence, and your investors won't have the time, the luxury of time to read all those details, meaning you need to be brief. And the good thing about a business model canvas is the fact that a business model canvas is just like so. That's all about the business model canvas. A business model canvas is a one-page document. You can, there's almost no need to screenshot it. You can just research online business model canvas and get one for yourself and feel. I encourage every entrepreneur. You can even have come to understand that you can even use a business model canvas even as an employee. So this is a business model canvas. It has the value propositions, it has customer segments, it has channels, it has customer relationships, it has key activities, it has key partners, key resources, cost structure, and revenue streams. It's very important that you understand what a business model canvas is. Now let's explain what a business model canvas is. Now, this is what you use to pitch your idea to your investor, because it's a one-page document. You can meet with an investor for 30 minutes and you pitch your idea with just having a business model canvas. So let's share how we build a business model canvas. The very first thing or the very first item you address on your business model canvas is your value proposition. This is the product element of what investors are looking for. Remember, I said we need to look at your product. This is where you do the branding of your product. This is where you do the marketing at the value position. Value position is what makes you stand out. What is the difference between you and any other company that is involved in the same thing you do? When you must have identified your value proposition, the next thing you need to identify is your customer segment. Please note the order in which I'm giving it. The first is your value proposition, and the next is your customer segment. Because when you know specifically what you want to offer, and remember I said I have I'm about launching a startup, and we have identified what we are going to use to make us different. That is what we call our value position. The next stage we are in now is to identify the customer segments. What customers can you serve? I want you to know this. You can't sell to everybody in your industry. It's a bitter truth. You can't sell to everybody. You just need to define your clients and make them on the value proposition. The next is your channels. What we talk about channel here is how does your value proposition reach your customer segment? If it's a product, how do you make your clients know that your product is in existence? If it's a service, how do you make your clients know that your service is existing? And then your customer relationship, how do you keep those clients? That's what customer relationship is all about. How do you satisfy those clients and how do you keep them? So if you're talking to an investor, for example, okay, let me check one of the companies again and use it as a case study. Okay, marketplace management system. Okay, hardware product. Okay, now Let me take, for example, hardware product, because I don't understand exactly what is marketplace management system. Let me just take hardware product. Now, let's say you are selling a particular hardware product. For those who have dropped an example of their company, please, if you can be a little bit more specific, because this is where I want to do a live pitching to investors. So if you can be a little bit specific so that I can use your example properly. Now, let's say you want to do hardware product, a DFM lab. It's very important you understand what is in the market. Someone said, if you can't be the first, be the best. You need to understand what is available in the market. When you understand what is available in the market, you can bring out something. It's not like you're bringing out something completely different, but you're bringing in something new. That's your value proposition. Now, when you've had something new, you need to define your customer, and you're telling your investor that, okay, Mr. Investor, this is what we are bringing different in the market. And these are the kind of people we target to get. We are targeting this particular group of people because of this and this and these reasons. And in order to make sure we satisfy them, we are reaching out to them using this system and this system, because we've seen that they are frequent on this system, because we've seen that they are more comfortable with this system. Then comes in the customer relationship. However, despite the fact that we have put everything in place to make sure these customers are satisfied, every 2 months or every month or every 2 weeks, we are going to reach out to those people and check out how they are faring as far as our product is concerned. That is the first part. We get to the second part. The first thing you look at is your key elements. Also, your key partners. Your key partners. It's very important you understand your key partners. And while understanding your key partner, you need to also understand your key activities, because your activities or your partners will determine the kind of activities you have. Meaning, if you prepare a business model canvas and you show your key activities, and your key activity has something to do with your investor, you are showing your investor clearly on paper that this is like the plan of my company, and this is where you fall in. That is why we want you to invest in this particular opportunity. Talk about your key partners. Then also look at your key resources. Take note, it's always the key. Meaning you might have a lot of partners, you might have a lot of resources, you might have a lot of activities, but they don't yield results. Understand what activity yield results. I will share this story with you. One day a friend came to the office and we were sharing, and I asked him that, how is business? He said business is fine, but for the fact that he has some clients who disturb and they don't want to pay. Now, I asked him a question because he supplies Irish potatoes. I asked him a question that, is there anything your current customers, those who pay well, need that you can supply? He said yes. He said they need oil, they need this and that. I said, okay, you start supplying them oil. That's vegetable oil. Why? In the sense that the capital you're using to supply potatoes to everybody and some people don't buy, take the same the money you'll be able to retrieve from those who have refused to pay, buy oil and start supplying oil and Irish potatoes. Meaning oil became one of his key activities, and by so doing, that is how he was able to increase in resources. So it's also very important you identify your key resources. What do you need to do this particular activity? So that will talk about your key partners, your key activities, your key resources. These three things are very linked, because your partners determine the kind of activities, or your activities determine the kind of partners, and the partners will always bring in resources. Then you look at your cost structure. So you make your client understand that after I must have spent on this and this and this is my cost structure. My cost structure means I'm going to spend at this level, I spend at this level, I spend at this level, and this is my revenue stream. Now you understand that what you've done is like doing a brief of your financial statement. Or you've just, on one end you have the cost, on another end you have the revenue streams, and when you subtract, take note, it's not the cost of the product, it's a cost structure. Means any other thing that is linked to it, and then you subtract your revenue from there. Or sorry, you subtract it from your revenue. You find out that with this one-page document, this is the question I want to ask you tonight. Do you think what I've said with this one-page document an investor can understand? That is when you're presenting it in relation to the things we've said that an investor is looking for. Do you think with this one-page document an investor can understand what business you have in a very short time being? Just drop in the chat box. If you're an investor, can you understand what business is you're getting yourself into with just having just this one-page document, where you make the client understand what makes you different, how you're going to reach the customers you're involved in? Because already when you make your investor understand that you are seeking for these particular investors, it's very easy. So that you're seeking to meet the needs of this particular client. They come in with that comfort that you know what you're looking for. The mistake a lot of startup makes is that they want to sell to everybody, which is not possible. I think yes. Okay. So let's ride on. Part B is pitching your business or project. The next thing an investors look for is the statement of financial position. Yes, okay. What investors are also looking out for is what we call the statement of financial position, what you locally call balance sheet. The statement of financial position, often called balance sheet, is a financial statement that reports the assets, liabilities, and equity of a company on a given date. Please, if you don't know how to prepare a balance sheet, I encourage you to learn or employ or ask somebody to prepare for you. Because it's when investors look at your opportunity, they look at your balance sheet. Balance sheet says a lot about a particular business, and this is how a balance sheet looks like. Very simple. It's simply your assets on your left and the liabilities or those you owe on your right. Why is a balance sheet important? You might tell an investor that, or you might have 10 million in your bank account as a business. Or let's say your business is worth 10 million, but that business has investment. Let's say investors own 5 million and you're owing 3 million. Meaning at the end of the day, you're circulating 10 million and just 2 million is yours. It does not send a very positive message. That's why a lot of investors always look out for balance sheet. And let's take the example we have in front of us here. You see, the company has a value of 472,000 US dollars. It might look promising until when you look at, they have a long-term debt of $200,000. It means almost half of their total wealth is meant for debt. Then they also have accounts payable of $30,000. You get it? So you find out that a lot of what the figures you see in this particular balance sheet belongs to other people, and as such, it makes it skeptical for people to invest. That's why people like to invest in opportunities that they have enough resources, because this is how an investor thinks. An investor tells himself that, what if this thing goes south? Do these people have the means to pay me? The next is your compensation plan. When we talk about compensation plan, is the document that represents what every investor will pay as a function of the amount invested. This is simply at our local level, okay, the PT level. Make people understand clearly that if you put in this is what I'm going to give. If you put in this is what I will be able to give after this period of time. That's what we're talking about compensation plan. And this is how a compensation plan looks like. It's simply, if you put 1 million francs, you're going to receive this amount of money after this period of time, this amount of money. And like I advise, the compensation plan should be very explicit and should make sure that every person that has access to the compensation plan can understand what you do. Now, As we are about to conclude, I want us to understand this because we are getting to the last part. When you want investors to get into your project, it's very important you understand how they reason and make sure you have already put everything in place that concerns what they are looking for. They are looking for your reputation, they are looking for your product or your service, and they are also looking for your financiality. So when we talk about the compensation plan here, it's very important they understand they can take a calculator and tell themselves that if I put my money in this after I've already done all the other things. After what do I mean by all the other things? Is after you must have been able to sort out or to understand when they come at the level of product, at the level of service and all that. So they always ask themselves, how far am I certain that this is going to yield a profit? And sometimes the compensation plan comes in to give them that assurance that this is how your money is going to be paid. So it's very important your investors understand, because when they know what they are looking for, you need to present it to them so that they can actually benefit of it. Please, if you are to pitch your opportunity to an investor, I insist, limit yourself to the one-page business model canvas while you how do they call it? While you also prepare a financial statement. And another personal tip, when you are talking to an investor, do more of the listening and less of the talking. Because when you say something, it means something. But when an investor says something, it means everything. This is a marketing tip I'm giving you. Marketing has made me to understand that a lot of people think because you spoke for one ad and somebody got into your business or somebody decided to invest with you, is that one ad talk that got him or her. No, it's not that one ad talk. The person picked out something. It's like during this presentation, somebody might pick out something at the level of pitching. Somebody might pick out something at the level of what investors are looking for. And at the end of the day, it helps the person grow in his or her business. It's the same thing with investors. So when investors want to talk, make sure you listen. Do a very brief pitching, but make sure you do more of the listening, because when you do more of the listening, you'll be able to understand the specific areas that the investor is interested in. Some people are interested in huge profit despite the risk. Some people are invested in secured profits, in secure profit that has minimal risks. So it's very important that you explain or you understand all these things and know how to apply them. And as we conclude, I want to leave you with this. Entrepreneurs buy ideas, investors buy profits. Meaning when you are looking for a business or if you are looking for investors, start by understanding, is this man an entrepreneur or is this man an investor? And we'll talk about entrepreneurs here. We don't talk about everybody. We talk about those who have really started an opportunity. You might move towards an entrepreneur with let's say he's doing something else, but he's a senior entrepreneur, a senior person in business who has the means. Now you should be able to show the person how the greatness of this idea, because even though as an investor, the person remains an entrepreneur and the entrepreneurs love ideas. But when you stand in front of someone who is solely into increases our revenue, you need to understand that investors buy profits. Meaning in all what you say, the investor needs to understand how his or her profit is going to be made. And by so doing, by an understanding that entrepreneurs buy ideas, investors buy profit, it will be easier and better for you to attract investors to do business with you. And this brings us to the end of today's presentation. Thank you, it's Nkwenkam Fidelis, the financial apostle for you. If you have questions, please drop in the chat box or you unmute yourself and ask your questions. At this juncture, I will hand it over to the leaders of campus leaders of CLA while I wait for your questions. So thank you, and it has been my pleasure. Please, one of the leaders, just write in the chat box where can I, who will continue? That is, I need to hand over the host to someone else. So who will continue and take charge of the host, please? Who's the next person I'm making host so that I can take the questions? You can use the chat box or you do a voice record. Thank you. Okay. I want to take questions.
All right. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you so much for the presentation. We really enjoyed the presentation. It's quite an eye-opener and quite enlightening. Please, we would like to have your questions now. If you have any question, kindly indicate in the chat box so that we can have it one by one. Please, if you have any question, kindly indicate so that we can give you the mic and you ask your question. Thank you so much. Okay. Please, we are kindly waiting for you. Our guest is waiting for you so that we can release us. And then we have the last concluding session tomorrow. The conclusion session is tomorrow by 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Tomorrow we'll be looking at good governance and responsible leadership. Please, we'd love to have you around also by 8 p.m. So please kindly drop your reviews on our WhatsApp group or to our contact so that we can see what you have learned so far. It's not just good to just hear, but it's also wonderful to learn on what you have learned, to work on it. If you need any help, please reach out to us and we would help you navigate through it. Thank you so much. We'll be rounding up very soon. We have, okay. Okay, if you have a question, please go ahead. Olufemi Boyejo, please go ahead with unmute yourself and introduce yourself, your name and your country, and ask your question. Thank you.
Host, please, can you unmute? Host, please, can you unmute the person who has a question? It says host needs to unmute me. Please, can you unmute?
Unmute yourself now.
But
hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can get you.
Right. First, I want to thank you for this presentation. I really enjoyed every second. I just one question. It's just about documents that you have given us. You were talking about the business model canvas and other documents. So I just want to know, with those documents, are we going to write them separately? One's addressed to customers, one's addressed to investors, and one's addressed to potential partners. Or we just write one single document that we give to everyone.
Okay, that's a very good question. The business model canvas primarily is for your personal use, meaning a customer is not supposed to have access to your business model canvas, especially the details of your business model canvas. Thanks again for that question. There is something I'd like to note about business model canvas. Despite the fact that you see a business model canvas and it's one page, what you get on the one page of a business model canvas is a summary. Let's say, for example, you want to talk about let me get back. Let's say, for example, you want to talk about your customer segment. It's not just talking about we are targeting these customers, we are targeting these customers, we are targeting these customers. On that one-page document, you can say we target these particular customers, we target these particular customers, and you end there. Then you can get to what we call an appendix and say, for example, customer segment. You give details of customer segment. But we keep it at the one-page level because what you bring at this level is the summary. Meaning, even if your customers want to have access to your business model canvas, it's not like you're giving it to the customers. If you have a business place, you can put your business model canvas. If you get to some companies do that. They put it in a frame and put on their wall. It's another way of marketing to make the customers understand that they are treating them special. So I just said the fact as I've addressed the point of your personal usage and that of your customers. Let me get to the level of your investors. I advise and I recommend the use of business model canvas as opposed to business plan because it is easier to understand and it is fast to understand. Now, if you are pitching your idea to a business, to an investor, and you decide to use a business model canvas, also make use of the appendix. Let's say you are sending a file for investment to an investor, a potential investor. Your file should be made up of one-page business model canvas that carries a summary. So when you talk about your cost structure, you can even put a cost structure in a different sheet because, for example, cost structure, the cost of a company cannot fall under this in this particular small space in the page. So maybe say you're spending on marketing, you're spending on production, you're spending on logistics. So you not put the cost on everything here. So just come, for example, marketing, this percent, logistics, this percent. Then you write there that appendix, check appendix. Now, why is this system better? Because the investor will look at the whole concept, and the investor now goes to the appendix to seek out only for things that the person has not understood properly, or the investor is going out to look out for things that the investor would like to have more light on it. Because people in their nature are bibliophobic. They don't like to read a lot, especially when it comes to a sector they don't understand. But when you make it this brief, the idea is to get their attention. That's why I say how to attract investors to fund your idea. So when you get their attention through this system, now I might understand everything on the business model canvas, but I don't understand your key resources. Then for that reason, I go to your key resources. And another thing that needs to be part of your file is your financial position. You need to make your investors understand. Investors move with this mindset. Investors come in, please, there's a fine line between investors and sponsors. Sponsors are those who can come and meet you with $0, $0, 0 naira, and they accompany you. Investors love to come into projects that there is already something that is running. So they don't want to, they love finished products. They don't love a lot of work in progress. So that's why you need a statement of financial position so that your investor understands that this and this and this is where we stand as a company. We don't owe anybody. So if we are actually in need of money, is to expand. Even if we owe, we have the ability to pay on demand. So that is how you use the business model canvas. Even if you want to share it with your clients, it's a brief concept. Investors, you can go a little bit detailed, but you don't put everything on the sheet on this single paper in a bit to avoid a situation whereby you've saturated it. You create another page for appendix. Cost structure can have even 2 pages or 1 page on appendix. But the idea is I grab your attention, and when I grab your attention, now the person gets into the details. But at the end of the day, you will still have all these documents. So thanks a lot for that question. I hope I've answered your question. I'm seeing a hand up. I hope I've answered your question. You can use the chat box. Okay, I'm seeing Boye Joe's, his hand is up, but I don't think he's the one that asked the question just now. Let's ride on, Emmanuel. If there's any other question, let's ride on while waiting for his response. But the person that asked the question, I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Mr. Femi, please kindly unmute yourself and ask your question. Thank you so much, Mr. Fidelis, for answering the question earlier asked. Please, let's take one or two more questions while we round up this session, and we have the concluding session tomorrow evening. Thank you so much. Okay. Kindly drop your question in the chat box. Kindly drop your question in the chat box so that we can just attend to it.
Okay, while he's dropping the question, I saw something here. So we might not have questions now, but then can we reach out to you when we are practically preparing a business model canvas? Yes, it's possible. When you want to prepare a business model canvas and you're stuck, just reach out to Emmanuel, and he will know how we can and when he can best reach out to me, and we can always get a working session and I guide you on how to create your business model canvas. So sorry, I didn't address it earlier. I'm trying to address now. So Femi, I don't know if that's the question you wanted to ask earlier. Oluwafemi, please, you can use the chat box if you're unable to mute yourself. In the meantime, Emmanuel, also try to see if you can help him out with the mute issue. Okay. Is there no other question? Please, if you have a question and you're typing, maybe just type that I have a question so that we know if you are waiting or not, so that we can get to other things of the day. Okay. Regarding finding an investor who understand a product presently. Okay. Regarding finding investor who understand a product. Presently, Nigeria is not into hardware development. How can we access investors in that niche? Okay, that's a great idea. If Nigeria is not in hardware development, please, you can explain a little bit what hardware development is while I try to search it out. It will be good so that I can answer the question specifically. Now, but why I answer your question, hardware development, because, okay, I don't know if when you talk about hardware development, I don't know if you're talking about hardware of a computer, of a device and all that. But if that's the case, okay. So let me say you're talking about hardware of computers, because I know the word hardware and software mostly apply to computers. Give me an example of the products that you have. Now, Nigeria is not so much into hardware. How can you find investors? It's a very good question. It's a very good opportunity. You have to understand something. When you have a company, when you have a business, you are producing or you are supplying in an industry, not in a location. This is something I taught on branding. This is a mistake most of the times we make. What's the difference between supplying in an industry and supplying in a location? If you are in the IT industry, there is IT in UK, there is IT in Cameroon, there is IT in Cote d'Ivoire, there is IT in Canada, there's IT in other areas. But when you say you're selling to a location, you will limit your business to a particular location. And by so doing, then you can have this problem that Nigerians are not so much aware. So remember, people do business only with those they know and trust. Meaning, if you don't have the necessary resources to educate people on what hardware development is all about, try to seek investors in countries and areas that where there is a level of awareness as far as hardware development is concerned. That is when now you can start looking for, you can make use of the internet. I've forgotten the name of that site, but there are some websites that look for projects to invest in. It's not like they are funding projects, they're investors who look out for projects to invest in. Projects from different categories. You bring the project and you have a session where you can pitch your idea to that person, and from there you can get investors. So we should look out there for investors too. So hardware product includes consumer products like ovens, mouse, and industrial products like laser cutting machine and other. Okay, now Nigeria, your location. Let me start from your location. Thanks for this detail. I was answering the question while waiting for this detail. Nigeria does not know a lot about hardware production, but you know there is this thing they call in local, or let me say local, in basic economics, that joint demand. That is two products that are used at the same time. Maybe they don't know hardware production. Like for example, you said mouse. Let me take for example mouse. Mouse is used with computers or with PCs. So can you develop a mouse that can go with a local PC, let's say from HP, let's say from Dell, let's say from MacBook? Now, when we come to value proposition, seeing that your mouse is locally produced, what will make your mouse different? And how do you make your mouse different? Look out for where the mouse that is available in the market, where did they end as far as their technology is concerned? Can you go beyond that? So maybe your marketplace, that's your local marketplace, which is Nigeria, is not aware or does not know a lot about your product and your service. But is there anything you can produce that can be used alongside something that is already available in the market? It's like I have rice, you have soup. Maybe I cannot eat my rice alone. I cannot eat my rice empty. So you bring your soup, I join with my rice and we eat. So if what you offer, the industry or the marketplace is not yet aware, look out for something that is already available in it. Yes, we can develop something that will beat what is already existing. I would like you to underline this. With competition, don't focus much on beating your competitor. Focus more on giving the best of what you can offer, because your competitor can have more technology than you, and by the time your competitor identifies it, your competitor goes beyond you. That's what Apple does. Apple does not compete with other companies. Apple competes with itself. So that was just an aside. Okay, but what I'm trying to say is I've given you two main advice. Seek out for international investors. Second, if they are not yet aware, look out for what the marketplace consumes, what the marketplace is already aware of. Is there anything you can produce that the marketplace can use alongside that particular product they are aware of? Because by so doing, it's like you're coming to make the usage of that particular product easier. And remember, we said when your product can solve problems, you're good to sell. Is there any other question and we conclude? I hope I've answered your question. Emmanuel, I'm taking one last question and we conclude, if there is. Emmanuel, is there any other question and we conclude?
All right. I guess at this point we are good to go. At this point, if there's anybody that has a question, please just kindly reach out to us on WhatsApp. I will get your answers across to you. It's been an awesome night already. And as you know, for those that have been with us since the beginning of the session, it's 2 sessions today. And you know that you've learned one thing or the other. I would advise that, just come to the execution room and listen. It's quite important that you put them into use. All that you've learned, please, it's quite important that you put them into use. And if you need any help as regards what we've learned so far, you can also reach out to us and we'll guide you through it. Tomorrow, it's the concluding session, and it's a major effect on Africa leadership and governance. I really would encourage you not to miss it by 8 p.m. And the person that is coming, she's a lawyer by profession, and she's also the General Secretary for the Young Africa Leadership Initiative, West Africa. So it will be a quite engaging session. So we're looking forward to having you around. Also, you can invite your friends you can invite your friends also. Yeah, the WhatsApp number will be will be released for you to contact us, and we hope to see you tomorrow evening. All right, so on this note, we'll be wrapping up today's session, and tomorrow we meet by 8 p.m. The link will be sent across to you. So thank you very much. It's nice having you around.